Ready for an adventure? Today, we're diving deep into El Salvador, a country that's been popping up on my radar lately.
Oh, El Salvador. It often gets overlooked, doesn't it?
Exactly. But I've been digging through some travel articles and tourism pieces, and honestly, I'm captivated. So we're on a mission today to see if it lives up to the hype.
Sounds intriguing. What are your first impressions?
Well, one thing that jumps out is the sheer diversity packed into such a small country. We're talking dramatic landscapes, ancient history.
That's what's so fascinating about El Salvador. It really crams it all in. And it's not just about having mountains and beaches, it's the way they all weave together.
Right. Like imagine this. You start your day catching waves on the Pacific coast, beaches like La Libertad, which surfers rave about.
Oh, those beaches are incredible. The Pacific coastline of El Salvador is truly a surfer's paradise.
Totally. But then you're not far from these incredible volcanoes. Santa Ana, Cerro Verde, these peaks just dominate the landscape. It's a whole other world, all in the same day.
And, that juxtaposition, that contrast, is key to understanding El Salvador. It sits right on the ring of fire, so these volcanoes aren't just scenic backdrops, they're woven into the country's identity.
It's amazing how geography shapes a culture. Speaking of which, we can't forget about the history. Our sources mention these incredible Mayan ruins, Tazumal in particular.
Tazumal. Walking through those ruins is like stepping back in time. You can almost feel the presence of the Mayan civilization that once thrived there.
It must be incredible to see those structures firsthand and think about the people who built them centuries ago.
It really is, and it reminds us that El Salvador's history goes far deeper than what we often learn in school. This was a land bustling with life, innovation, and culture long before European contact.
Like a whole other layer to this story.
Oh,
And speaking of stories, we have to talk about the food.
yes. The food, a true reflection of the country's rich cultural blend.
Right. I mean, pupusas are practically a national symbol, but there's so much more to discover.
Oh, absolutely. You've got tamales, which are a must-try, and then, of course, the mariscos, the seafood. Fresh from the Pacific, it's incredible.
It's like this fusion of Spanish, indigenous, and even African influences all coming together on your plate.
Exactly. And just like the food, the people of El Salvador are incredibly warm and welcoming. They really embody that blend of cultures, a love of music, of dance, this real appreciation for the simple joys in life.
And speaking of simple joys, one of our sources shared this hilarious anecdote. Apparently, a man named Juan decided to plant a mango tree inside his living room.
Wait, what? A mango tree inside?
Yep. Apparently, he loved mangoes so much he wanted one growing right in his house.
Mm.
It sounds strange, but somehow it feels very El Salvadoran.
It does. It speaks to that deep connection to nature, that joy in the everyday, even if it means having a tree as a roommate.
It's a good reminder to not take life too seriously. But on a more serious note, we haven't talked about the elephant in the room yet, or should I say, the small country in Central America.
Right. Right. El Salvador's size is definitely a factor. It's the smallest country in the region, which has to shape its identity in some way, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It makes you wonder how such a small nation navigates its place on the world stage, especially with such a complex history. I mean, we talked about the Mayan period, but you also have the pre-Columbian era, the Spanish conquest, the fight for independence, even a civil war.
Exactly. This tiny nation has weathered some serious storms, and yet it's emerged with this incredibly vibrant culture. It's resilient.
Resilient is a great word for it.
Yeah.
So to sum it up, we have El Salvador, a small country with stunning natural beauty, a rich and layered history, food that's calling my name, and people who sound incredibly welcoming.
Don't forget that indoor mango tree.
Oh, right. Can't forget the mango tree. But seriously, it sounds like so much more than a hidden gem. It's like a multifaceted diamond just waiting to be explored.
It truly is. And it makes you think, how does this small nation with its big history and even bigger spirit navigate the challenges of an increasingly interconnected world? It's a question worth pondering.
It really is. So listeners, has this sparked your curiosity about El Salvador? Are you craving pupusas? Intrigued by ancient ruins? Maybe you just want to know more about that indoor mango tree. Whatever it is, I encourage you, dive deeper. El Salvador is waiting to be discovered.